Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. You just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Just one more chime just for the road, I guess. It's kind of sad when we have to retire this too.
I want a mock.
That was a sad day.
Gotta unmute
Hey
yourself,
Judd. Hey Judd. Hi Judd.
Hold on.
There he is.
There I am. But the good news is you don't have to retire that because.
Oh, we're gonna get the way too early 2025 mocks.
Well, that too. But you know what? Next week starts mocking the schedule.
I want a mock.
Don't ever forget this league. You think this league will leave you hanging like that?
And I think, didn't we hear, or has it been announced, or one of us heard a little birdie that like it's usually May 15th-ish, but it's like May 9th. I mean, it's going to be like in a week and a half.
I found it a projected date. They're not saying officially yet, but there is a projected
so it's
date.
a mock schedule for the schedule release.
I would even say also not just for us. My fiance wants that to come out because I told her I can't plan any honeymoon stuff until that is out, which goes over really well in this house. But this is where we're at here. We're at the mercy of the NFL schedule, so I need to figure out what that looks like too in this house.
Yeah, and the preseason, because you guys are getting married in the summertime, and you guys are getting married like within a month of the preseason schedule coming
Very
out.
Important
so
thing.
I want a mock. Yeah. So, the Vikings just finished up their 2024 entire draft class. If you are coming here for a J.J. McCarthy discussion, I think we would point you to the countless hours over the past couple days on the Purple Daily podcast feed and YouTube channel, Apple, Spotify, where we Judd and I jumped on last night. They didn't have a pick last night, and we jumped on for the first hour. We talked J.J. McCarthy, Dallas Turner, obviously with the 17th pick. But I'm going to fly through these, and we can kind of come back and talk about anyone individually. I've got some notes on these guys. But they round out. By the way, they didn't make a trade today, right?
No.
They stuck at all. Congratulations, Kwesi, for sticking and picking here, I guess. But with the 108th pick, a fourth-round pick, the Vikings selected cornerback Khyree Jackson from Oregon. And again, we'll fill in details as we go back here. With a sixth-round pick, 177 overall, offensive tackle Walter Rouse from Oklahoma. Sixth-round pick, 203, kicker Will Reichard from Alabama. In fact, he was one of the two kickers that Thor threw out as draftable on the final seven-round mock simulation we did with him last week. The Stanford kid was the other one. And then seventh round, the 230 overall, interior offensive lineman Michael Jurgens from Wake Forest. And then a seventh-rounder, 232 overall, defensive tackle Levi Drake Rodriguez from Texas A&M Commerce, an FCS school. So where do you guys want to start here with just the day three picks that just came across the board here in the last couple hours? Anything stand out to you guys?
Well, the kicker did because, of course, the last time the Vikings tried to go this route, Daniel Carlson was a fifth rounder, if I'm not mistaken, and Will Reichard is a sixth round pick. But the difference here to me is substantial because I actually have no problem this time with drafting a kicker because of the coaching staff, which I think will put up with the kicker. My whole thing with when Spielman took Carlson was you are sending him into a hornet's nest. Zimmer doesn't like kickers to start with. This guy's a kid. The first sign of trouble, and it happened, Mike's going to melt down, and it started in training camp, and it didn't end until after, the third game of the season at Lambeau when they had to cut, or they didn't have to. They cut him because he had a terrible game.
Yeah.
Reichard, in this case, to me, I like this. If you're going to spend a pick on a kicker, because first of all, the head coach, far more patient, not even close. Matt Daniels, to me, has done some really good things as a special teams coordinator. So this is not one where I roll my eyes and think you wasted a pick. This is one where I will say, I think for the sixth round, this was a smart move. This was a smart move because it gives you a kicker. I mean, how long have we complained about kickers And part of my thing was always previously during the Zimmer regime was you're going to have to bring in a veteran because the person's going to have some type of thick skin.
Yeah.
And now Thor, this was not the one that Thor endorsed. Thor endorsed the Stanford kid, and he brought up this Reichard's name.
Yeah.
But Thor's thing was the Stanford kid kicked countless 50-yard field goals because Stanford was like, just go out there and try another one.
Dude.
Nick Saban loves this kid, but he didn't do that. But last year, Reichard was 5 for 5 from 50 plus.
Here's so I got some other stats on Reichard because it's Alabama. And to your point, you're not really kicking a lot of 50-yard field goals when you're Alabama. He only attempted 13 50-plus yard field goals in his career and 297 career extra points because you're constantly getting deep in the deep red.
Yep.
But PFF had him as a 95 grade on field goals and extra points, which was 4th among all college football kickers. And the consensus board, so the Vikings took him 203. The consensus board had him 218. So the consensus board is just all the big boards piled into one consensus. So they maybe reached a little bit per the consensus boards. But I will say this about an Alabama kicker. You're kicking in a lot of raucous environments. Those are NFL stadiums, basically, in terms of environment and pressure. There's no more pressure-packed conference in college football than the SEC. So tough to rattle an SEC kicker, I think, that has some polish. So I'm interested to see him in training camp.
And it's Saban, too. And
Yeah.
Saban loved this kid.
Yeah.
But I actually think if you were to ask me after the first round of the Vikings picks for 2024, who stands to actually have an impact, Will Reichard's the
He also has been kicking his entire life. In Pee Wee football, this guy was kicking. He was going to youth camps strictly for kicking. This was not some random soccer player that said, "Hey, can you come and kick PATs for us on the side at the high school games?"
What do you want to do when you grow up, Willie?
And he wanted to be a kicker.
I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a police officer.
This is brilliant.
I want to be a National Football League kicker.
Yeah. He literally attended in 6th grade, in 5th and 6th grade, kicking camps for football, not
That's
just
wild.
soccer camps. This guy's been like groomed to be a football kicker, playing
Or
at
his
the most
parents are
prestigious
psychos.
team.
Or his parents are psychos. And genius. Because they know that that there's like, your son's probably not going to be a starting defensive tackle in the NFL. Quarterback is tough, right? But if he could be a punter or a kicker, and we could groom him from the age of 6.
Yep.
Oh.
It's like when your kid is born and he starts to pick up things with his right hand, and you're like, no, Junior. No, Junior, here's your hands tied behind your back. You got to use the left hand. And he becomes a reliever. And you're gonna be out of the bullpen too, son.
On AlabamaRivals.com, this article that was written 4 years ago in 2020, there's a sentence in here. Nicknamed the baby-faced assassin for his boyish facial features, Reichard has long been revered as a prodigy in the kicking world. So, like, I legitimately think we're talking about like a kicking prodigy that has been doing this his entire life. Maybe this is exactly what this franchise needs.
Or is this bad? Is this like a Macaulay Culkin, Jonathan Taylor Thomas? Like you're a child star, and you peak when you're 12 years old or 16 years old, and now he's going to be he's going to be on drugs. Like, what is he going to flame out? Is my question.
He's in for competition here, though, because I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be hard for Team Babyface to beat J.J. McCarthy.
Or in terms of like the babyface
The
rankings on the
babyface,
team?
yeah.
Okay.
J.J. McCarthy looks like he might be 12.
Josh McCown still has kind of a baby face.
But he has a jaw that you could
it thinned
cut
out.
a steak with.
But the key is your
Looks
face
like a
does
Bond
like
villain or
thin
something.
out. Yeah, it thins out. JJ 21, he's still got the baby face, so it's going to be hard for Will Reichard to beat out.
So they snagged the kicker. I want to talk about Khyree Jackson here for a second. The cornerback, their first pick on day 3 here, the 4th round pick, number 108. The consensus boards had him as a top 100 prospect, number 96. So they wind up getting 12 slots worth of value here. Some amazing quotes from this guy, by the way. I'm going to go through a couple things here. First of all, he'll be 25 years old when the season starts.
Yes.
So you're like, this is one of those deals where you're not really signing him to a second contract. He'll be like 29 when he hits free agency in 4 years. He's 6'3", 195 pounds. So he's one of the tallest cornerbacks in the draft. Brian Flores gets a tall, lanky cornerback, somebody with some maybe ability to jam at the line of scrimmage. He played a couple years at Alabama and then wound up at Oregon, but he barely played at Alabama. The thing about him is he's 25 years old when the season starts. He's only been like a 1-year starter in college. So that's part of the reason why he isn't maybe more of a reliable higher pick in this draft. Now, Pro Football Focus, they listed this on Twitter today. A career best 41.6 passer rating allowed in coverage in 2023 for Khyree Jackson, which was second among all Pac-12 cornerbacks in a passing conference, by the way, where you got Michael Penix, you got Bo Nix, all these guys lining it up. So, he was teammates with Bo Nix, so he didn't face Bo Nix. But then some of the beat writers had some great quotes here. Kevin Seifert just had a lively video conference with Vikings cornerback Khyree Jackson. He said he told the Vikings at the Senior Bowl, quote, "I'm the best cornerback in the draft. I told them they were going to get me for cheaper because of some of the politics that go into it. He's going to fall because of the politics being you're 25 and you've only started 1 year." And it was a great year, but...
Yeah, there's a lot, yes.
And then Alec Lewis, our friend from The Athletic, said, Khyree Jackson was at the mall today when the Vikings picked him. He likes clothing. Quote, "I was in the store. I missed the first call. Then my phone rang again. I picked it up. It was the Vikings. I told the lady in the store, well, I got to go. And I ran out."
Yeah. He also had the one. Did you see the one where he left football, went to work at a grocery store and
in
sliced
the deli.
ham at the deli and
he was like a professional gamer for a while too.
Yeah. This is an interesting one. There's a lot of questions here. There's a lot of. I mean, it could work.
Well, that's
fine.
why he's a 4th-round pick and not a 2nd-round pick.
This is the type of guy that like Spielman might have taken 2nd or 3rd round, and it would be like, what are you doing? Because this could easily bust. But in the 4th round, but yeah, he's mysteriously out of football in 2017 and 18. Spends 2 years at Bama, where Forno told me like they were raving about his athletic ability, but they didn't really play him. And then he gets suspended in 2022, goes in the portal, services at Oregon, and as you just went through, was really good.
Yeah.
And at Harris Teeter, too, by the way, a really good grocery store. So that is a very prominent Southern grocery store.
Nice.
Okay.
That's
North Carolina have some of those?
North Carolina, Maryland. When I visit my brother, usually like the first stop we go, because they have the weird liquor laws there in North Carolina where you can only get beer in the grocery store, and then ABC stores sell like hard liquor and booze. Yeah. It's a very strange system out down there. But Harris Teeter is like, it's kind of like a hybrid between, it's a higher end like Cub Foods, but it's not quite Whole Foods. It's got the deli, it's got bars inside of them. You can drink beer there. I'm a big Harris Teeter guy.
You can just like belly up at the grocery store?
Yeah, there's like a bar inside Harris Teeter's that you can belly up and have a tap, have a beer before you go or finish your shopping. It's phenomenal.
That. Sometimes I get kind of, the anxiety starts to set in after like 30 minutes of grocery shopping. I just need a shot of something to finish out the produce section. So, I mean, he's going to be automatically just one of the most fun players to follow in the off-season camps and training camp. Khyree Jackson. We should also mention, too, before we get to some of these other players, that we're going to transition to Vikings Vent Line here, kind of a draft recap edition hosted by Declan, Vikings Vent Line. So if you want to jump in the room here, if you're hanging out with us, and by the way, there are 2,000 of you draft sickos hanging out with us right now on a Saturday evening as we recap this thing on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. Just send an email if you want to get on Vikings Vent Line to vikingsventline@gmail.com. vikingsventline@gmail.com. Also, we've got a bunch of you have already picked up in the Score North shop, scorenorth.com/shop, your official JJ to JJ Purple Daily merchandise here. You can find t-shirts, hoodies, some crew necks. Declan's more of a crew neck guy. Judd and I are hoodie guys.
I also locally, I know this is mostly just here in the Twin Cities, yesterday at about 6 o'clock, 6:15 on 494-35W, I saw also the JJ to JJ billboard.
Oh,
that was
so
up
awesome.
as well. So you guys will also see in the metro area here in the Twin Cities. You might keep your eyes peeled for the digital billboard of JJ to JJ.
Yeah. Now, Justin Jefferson has made it clear that there's only one JJ on the team, that his nickname is Jets.
Yep.
or Jettas, right?
Yep.
And J.J. McCarthy is J.J. But the fans still call Justin Jefferson J.J. So, okay, the next pick was, so they went Khyree Jackson, round 4 with the 108. And then they stuck at 177, a 6th-round pick. And they drafted offensive tackle Walter Rouse from Oklahoma, 6'6", 322 pounds. He was 162 on the consensus board, so they got 15 slots of value for him. He was, I believe, he was a 4-year starter at Stanford and then a starter at Oklahoma. So he has either been a starter or played pretty much the whole season for 5 years in college, Stanford and Oklahoma, exclusively left tackle. Almost like 98% of his snaps came at left tackle. I did catch a little bit of his press conference. Really impressive, sharp dude on the press conference. The media, looks like Alec Lewis tweeted this out here. The media also talked to Vikings director of college scouting, Mike, is it pronounced Sholatin? And he said, quote, one of the things that Walter Rouse talked about was he doesn't want pancake blocks.
Yeah,
he wants waffle blocks. I don't know what that was. He goes, I don't know, what is that? And he said, waffles are when you pancake someone and then step on them.
Yeah, buddy. And you know what? Waffles are people just assume pancakes are just the go-to. Waffles are far superior than pancakes. I love me some waffles.
I think they both got their place.
Can I pull a Judd and put a third option in? More of a French toast guy.
French toast is superior. That's the Tom Brady. That's the GOAT.
Okay.
That's the GOAT for me.
Yeah. French toast, a little bit more work too.
Yeah, well, I mean, you order it and someone else can do the work.
Yeah,
that's
I
true.
don't make it.
That's true. So here's my question about Walter Rouse is okay, he's a tackle. I did send Forno a note. I said, can he play some guard? He's like, not really. He's a tackle. So here's the question, though. He comes in as a swing guy. I mean, I'm guessing now he is he's a 6th-round pick, but I'm guessing he makes the roster.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there is an eye towards, because I mean, he's started a lot. He sounds like he's a pretty impressive, a smart guy, which, you know, the offensive line, the smarts are huge. You got to be intelligent. That's probably one of, along with quarterback, the most important.
He seems very intelligent.
I think I think he's got a medical background as well, that he wants to get into that. But anyway, here's my question. Is this insurance if they can't reach an agreement with Darrisaw, which I'm not expecting. I don't expect that won't take place. But more importantly, you know, Brian O'Neill at this point in time, as far as his career goes, is not a kid. You know, he's torn his Achilles, or at least partially. I wonder if this is a longer-term play as some type of just flat-out insurance policy as well.
Yeah,
just
I mean,
throwing it out there.
I don't think you
6th rounder. So
yeah, I think you're like 2 steps ahead here. Like you draft him in the 6th round as a guy that you hope can make the team first, and you project some upside. And if you were to lose Brian O'Neill and or Christian Darrisaw because of contract or injury or age or whatever, I don't know that like Walter Rouse is at the top of their list right now, because there's a reason why he was a 6th-round pick. But it is interesting. Again, the Vikings, they went to some big-time colleges, and then they took an FCS kid, which we'll get to. But it's a lot of Alabama, Oregon, Stanford, just big-time, Michigan.
Yep.
He allowed 0 sacks at Oklahoma in 2023 in 481 pass block snaps.
Yeah.
And that ain't FCS, man. That's not Maction on Tuesdays. That's Oklahoma. So that's pretty impressive right there. But there's also a reason why he wasn't a 2nd-round pick. There was 9 offensive linemen taken in the 1st round. So we'll see. I think step 1, make the team. But yeah, he's a really interesting prospect.
Just throwing it out.
Yeah, any time you lose, like, and whether it's for a game or two, which we have seen injuries to Darrisaw that are could linger for a game. Like you just need options, because the moment you lose one of your starting tackles, and especially in the Vikings case where they're lucky enough where they have probably obviously 2 of the top 15 to 20 tackles in the NFL, I think having one of those guys on the bench that can come in and be your swing guy that isn't Rashad Hill has actually made a pretty decent career here. but you feel probably a lot better about a guy who went to Oklahoma, was a 4-year starter, was really dang good, smart as hell. I think just having the luxury of having that as a security blanket does feel pretty good.
I think you got 5 of the 7 guys that they drafted who are going to vie for 53-man spots. And I think it ends at the 6th round.
So you think the next 2 guys we're going to talk about are probably just
practice squad type of guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's throw these guys out here. And I'll throw another shout out, too, if you're just joining us. Looks like we're up to almost 2,500 people simultaneously here listening to us talk about 6th-round tackles, which we love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Declan will turn this into a Ventline session, vikingsventline@gmail.com. If you want to jump in, vikingsventline@gmail.com. With the 230th pick, a 7th-round pick, the Vikings took interior offensive lineman Michael Jurgens from Wake Forest. So Thor did not have him ranked in his 500, and the consensus board had him 446.
Yeah, this is a weird
So this
one.
was like this was a UDFA. This is how you use your 7th round. To me, this was a UDFA that they had as a priority UDFA that they didn't want to compete with the rest of the league, and they took him. 6 years in college, mostly at center, and then he switched to left guard last season at Wake Forest, and PFF loved him as a left guard at Wake Forest. He only allowed 7 pressures in 450-plus pass blocking snaps. So, and he's a big guy. He's 6'4.5", 307 pounds, which is pretty tall for a center. But Alex Boone was a guard at 6'8", so you can be a tall guard.
Right.
But I wonder, is he a guy that they're looking at? Probably. I mean, like you said, he's fighting for a roster spot as a 7th-round pick. But is he a guy that he played mostly center until last year, but maybe playing guard is what got him drafted? Is he a guard? Is he just a swing guy across the middle? We don't really know yet.
The scouting report that the league produces basically said he's a center, which because I thought the same thing. And there's no question they had to at least draft him with the thought that he could be a swing guy. But somewhat concerningly, the scouting report also said he struggles to hold up against defensive tackles. For his size, I would think that he's a mauler, that he just absolutely ends the careers of defensive linemen, and he doesn't even come close. Yeah, this one was curious. The only thing I can guess is that the offensive line coach and coaches liked his film and said, "We'll cut him, we'll re-sign him to the practice squad, and give us a year to work with him." That's the only thing I could figure.
Yeah. The other interesting thing is I'm looking at his RAS breakdown, his relative athletic score. So on a 0 to 10, he was a 7.62 RAS score, which is fine. It's not a train wreck. It's not off the charts.
Sure.
But he graded really high in the vertical and the broad jump. So his explosion grade, which is a sector of the RAS score, was very high. His weight was a little 307 when compared to some of the other interior offensive linemen, was a little low. And then his bench reps were low, only.
Right.
I'm throwing stones in a glass house here. Only 22 bench reps. There's some other guys that get into the 30s. There's some guys that got to upper 30s on the bench reps. So I don't know. Just a 7th-round pick with some potential to maybe make the practice squad there.
His size would make you think that he dominated the bench, though. That's what I found didn't make sense to me. Was this guy sounds like he should be a bleep kicker. And it doesn't sound like he is, but perhaps they've said, you know what, we'll get him stronger.
Yeah. And then the last pick that the Vikings made is one of the more interesting ones. It was the 7th rounder, number 232, defensive tackle Levi Drake Rodriguez from Texas A&M Commerce, which is an FCS school. I think a recent FCS school, too. I was looking up on Wikipedia. I believe they were Division II as recently as a few years ago. Mm-hmm. On the consensus big board, he was 376. So another guy that was probably going to be a UDFA that had some competition. The Vikings decided, no, we're just going to draft you. 6'4", 290 pounds. I happened to have the volume up on the ESPN panel when they made this pick. And they're just flying through a bunch of different things, and they stop, and they don't break down every single player in succession, but they literally like made a point to talk about him for like 2 or 3 minutes.
Right.
And Field Yates and Mel Kiper love this pick for the Vikings. They called him a major potential sleeper, one of the best defensive linemen in FCS. So again, I don't know, a development guy for sure. Now I read the Forno write-up. I think that he just posted like 20 minutes ago. And he said, yeah, whatever. It's like it's number 232. Doesn't love his explosiveness, but the fact that Field Yates and Mel Kiper Jr. kind of stopped what they were doing to say, "Oh yes, somebody took our guy, Levi Drake Rodriguez." And Field was even saying they were on a call together at one point, just kind of testing each other on their draft knowledge. And Field Yates was like throwing out a bunch of facts about Levi Drake Rodriguez, and Mel Kiper was like matching him fact for fact or something. So. Interesting pick with their last pick.
Off
it was a draft info off. Yeah.
Oh man, Field Yates challenging Mel. Oh god, I bet that was good. I bet that got competitive.
So that's the class. Levi Drake Rodriguez, the defensive tackle from Texas A&M Commerce, rounding it out.
So
how do we feel?
Of that class, how many guys do you expect to set foot on the field for the regular season opener next season?
Like on the just having made the 53.
Yeah, and actually contribute, but contribute.
Like a week one impact. They're playing.
Week one they play.
Week one impact. Well, week one impact. Dallas Turner.
Yep.
I don't know that JJ McCarthy is a week one impact. We'll have to see.
I agree with that. Yep.
He's on so he's on an individual performance plan essentially, where there's some certain boxes he needs to check to develop to be put into the fire. That's what they said.
Does it even feel like, and I love that we're just having overreactions here on April 27th, still 4.5 months from the season opener, but like as of now, would you expect JJ McCarthy to be inactive for week one behind Sam Darnold?
It would be maybe potentially Darnold and like
Mullins,
Jaron Hall or Mullins, and then they would deactivate. If he'd probably be the QB2.
I was gonna say, I think if he's inactive, that actually means that they are disappointed. I think he'd be QB2.
Okay.
I think he'd be QB2. But this gets back to, I just don't think Sam Darnold should expect to see O'Connell much, because that individual plan is going to include one tutor, and his name is Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah. Well, but Josh McCown, don't you think Josh McCown is going to be?
I do, but I'm just saying, like, it's very clear now that Josh McCown and Kevin O'Connell are going to go into the lab with JJ, and that's going to be the key here. But I think Dallas Turner might be a situational guy early. I could see him being a third down guy and not being a first and second down guy. And Will Reichard, to me, makes the team. And he'll be important. Like, you can't put that down. I think he has far better chance to succeed because he's going to get the support, and it's not going to be a gong show.
How much fun is it that we get a 3-month kicking battle now? OTAs, minicamp, training camp. We get a full-on off-season kicking battle. Don't you think? Are they going to cut the XFL guy?
I think they'll start off with a battle, but I don't think it's going to last that long.
Do you think the XFL guy makes it to training camp?
Yes, but I think he gets cut early.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, I think we're getting some of the UDFAs already trickling in for the Vikings.
Oh, yeah. These deals have been done for like 2 days in some cases.
Right. So Bo Richter to the Vikings with a P5 guarantee, an Air Force linebacker per Aaron Wilson of NFL.
That is such a football name.
Did Thor bring him up?
I thought it sounds familiar.
On Thursday.
Yeah.
But that
sounds
probably.
Familiar.
Wait, Richter?
Bo Richter.
No, that was what was the offensive?
Well, Bo Limmer from Arkansas.
Yeah.
Who was kind of falling, by the way. He was kind of falling today.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Bo I remember. Bo Richter's a great football name, though. I just
confirmed the Vikings already have at least one agreement on a UDFA.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, that'll be that. So that's going to be the next 24 hours where they're going to fill out. And by the way, like, they got Ivan Pace, who was one of their best defensive players after the draft was over. They gave him a big. In some cases, you can actually get a bigger signing bonus as a UDFA because there's actually a market for you than you would if you were drafted. So I think, by the way, back to Judd's question, I agree. I do think the Alabama kicker, Reichard, I think he probably has the edge because you spent a draft pick on him. I think Khyree Jackson, the fact that he's 25 years old, 6'3", at the very least, a special teamer that makes the team. So I don't think he starts as an outside corner, but I think he's on the team. And then we're going to have to see on Walter Rouse. He's not starting for you unless there's an injury or something crazy happens. But so, yeah, I'm kind of shocked they didn't make a trade. Kwesi loves trading. He just sat there and made his picks.
You know what? Some folks will complain about this draft. They traded too much. They lost too many draft picks. They didn't have enough draft picks. I'm not complaining about this draft. Yeah. I would far rather. I'm not a Spielman guy. I don't need 17 names. With what they accomplished in the first round. Now, ideally, perfect world, you probably do have a second and or at least third round pick, right? Mm-hmm. I'll acknowledge that. But with what they accomplished in the first round, which I think is potentially absolutely enormous, it's huge. I have no problem with this draft. I'm not going to complain about this draft.
Dex just sent us some more UDFA information. Will Reichard is he still SI? Covers the Vikings. Mm-hmm. Yep, SI.com. And this is interesting. So UCLA edge rusher Gabriel Murphy reportedly, now he was 111 on the consensus board.
That's weird.
And there's 250 some draft picks. Mm-hmm. And they get him as a UDFA. Arkansas cornerback Dwight McLaughlin, 189 on the consensus board. They get him as a UDFA. And then, Air Force linebacker Bo Richter, Arizona defensive lineman Tyler Manoa. So, I mean, it's always interesting when you see guys that are 111, 150 on the consensus board. And so they're 130 slots displaced as UDFAs. But that's what people said about Ivan Pace correctly. They're like, really? This is literally the best linebacker in college football. I know the position's kind of devalued in 2023, but there's not a spot in 3 days of drafting for this dude. Mm-hmm. And he's a starter. He's one of the better players they have on defense.
And Gabriel Murphy, by the way, was the top UDFA per the consensus boards after this draft completed. So the draft ended. Mr. Relevant was made. The top UDFA in terms of the consensus board from Arif Hassan was Gabriel Murphy.
Wow. So that's
Kwesi Cook.
So that's an interesting one because what that is, and this goes back to Rick, I think, as well. The Wilfs. So this shows what teams will spend and what teams don't like to spend because these guys, when they're signed, aren't subject to the cap, right? Because the cap is what? The estimate of the top 55 or something like that. So because of that, you can actually just spend on these guys. And the Vikings have always been open to this. But I mean, you get a guy like Pace, or in this case, a guy like this kid, because of the fact that you can go to him and say, hey, here's what the offer is, where teams like the Bengals will try and nickel and dime them.
Yep. And I've heard too, just behind the scenes, some of these UDFA conversations literally start before the draft. That if there's a kid that is maybe outside the top 100, you think he's probably going to get drafted, but just in case, these conversations are being planted the week leading up to Thursday and Friday. Sure. And that's why this stuff happens so fast, where the draft gets over and then boom, there's the draft just ended a second ago, and the Vikings already have 6 UDFAs under contract.
You mean it's like free agency? You used to be when we'd be admitted in to the signing period and guys would sign and we'd be like, how did that happen? They just made the phone call.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
Yep. So there it is. And we'll throw one more. We got some people jumping in the room here for Ventline with Declan. VikingsVentline@gmail.com. If you want to jump on Purple Daily here and sling some post-draft takes, VikingsVentline@gmail.com, and Dex can get some of you guys in. So any final thoughts, Judd, from you here?
Schedule time. We just move on.
Turn the page.
Purple Daily does not take a break. That does not take a breath. What it does is
prime time.
And
Thursday, May, whatever.
I'm going to tell you right now, look for a Judd mock next week.
Yes. How about Tuesday?
Tuesday would be great.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, whenever.
You want to mock the schedule Tuesday? Okay.
I'll start tomorrow. Because I got to formulate and then look at some of the dates.
I was going to say, is 48 hours, is that like too much time where you're going to look at it, you're going to make it, and then there's too many additions and too many situations where you're going to have to change the schedule because you're going to be sitting on it for 48 hours?
No, because I'll mock it again then right before it comes out.
Oh, so we're going to get two. We're going to get two mocks.
May 2.0.
May 9th appears to be the projected date.
Is that a Thursday?
Yes. Because
That's
I believe
typically what they've done.
Okay.
It is. I believe if you look 2023, a Thursday was May 13th. Same thing. Because if you go back a couple of years, it used to come out in April before the draft. No, not anymore. But I mean, we got to pick an opener. We got to pick primetime games. Because now that you know, and now that McCarthy's there, and who knows who's going to start there's a lot of unknowns here. That Falcons game still looms large. The question now is who starts, Penix or Cousins?
Dude, I'm telling you, man, it's going to be. Somebody else pointed out too.
There's some.
Who the hell was it? Was it Chris Sims? Somebody pointed out on Twitter that, think about this, Cousins is going to be, he's not going to be full steam for OTAs, minicamps, because he's coming back from an Achilles.
It's Chris Sims.
And Michael Penix is going to be he's going to be taking the reps with the ones, throwing piss missiles all over the field, building chemistry.
Sims tweeted exactly that. He's going to, but it's true. And think about if Cousins does scuffle.
Yeah, it's going to be hilarious.
We want Penix. I mean, it rolls off the tongue.
Yep. So, anyways, we'll turn it over to Dex for some Vikings vent line here. Appreciate you guys. What a fun last few days here on Purple Daily. We saw that the podcast was charted 11th above Bussin' with the Boys even this morning on the Apple charts.
You get more information right now from the Purple Daily guys.
That's right, you are. So thank you guys. Declan with Vikings vent line. Judd with a mock schedule coming up in a couple days. All right, take it away, Dex.
Inject it. All right, boys. We'll be talking at you. Appreciate you both. All right, Vikings vent line right here on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. We're going to turn the show over to you here. We got a few guests in queue. I am flying this plane solo here to a degree, so bear with me if you're trying to get in on the show as this is happening, but you can shoot me a note. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. Appreciate everyone still hanging out. And again, if you want to come on the show, it's vikingsventline@gmail.com and hit that subscribe button for daily Vikings entertainment. We're going to have more draft coverage too with my guys Miles and Tyler on Monday from Purple Daily on draft. So as much as Jed will be mocking a schedule, we'll still have plenty of more draft takes for you right here on Purple Daily. We'll go one at a time here, I think is what I'll probably likely do here on Ventline. So we have a few guests in queue. So let's start with Nick. Nick got in here first. He's driving around. I think maybe he parked his car, thankfully. Nick, what's up, man? You're on Ventline. Oh, you're muted, Nick. You just got to unmute yourself.
Yeah,
on,
I just noticed that.
There you go.
No, I'm home now. I was just coming back from the gas station. But
what'd you think, dude? What'd you think of this draft?
That's the back end. It was whatever. I actually enjoyed the kicker. I'm intrigued by Khyree Jackson. But the first round, I'm gonna be the first to say I've been on JJ from day one. I don't know what it is. I'm not a Michigan fan. I see it. I see what Harbaugh sees, and I saw him on the Rich Eisen show, and he said, it's a tough pill to swallow coming in to a college, and then a coach telling you, hey, you got to dial it back, and he wants to open up the playbook. He wants to have 4,500 yards, 50 touchdowns, but Jim, and Tom Brady are just like, dude, win the game. And so I've been on him from the start, and then I would have traded 3 first rounders. I know everyone was against that, but I just wanted to get our guy. And I know everyone said Drake May was the guy from the start. I didn't feel that at all. I mean, you had all the executives going to see JJ. You had Kwesi at spring practices talking to JJ. This has gone back a couple of years where they've kept an eye on him. I think it's been JJ from the start, and especially with where we ended. I'm not a tanker. Part of me wishes we lost a couple of games, but JJ falling to us at 10 and then getting Will Anderson, he wasn't even on my radar. I didn't even watch highlights because I was like, there's not a chance that Will Anderson's going to be a Minnesota Viking. So Kwesi got an A for the draft just for those 2 picks.
Yeah, dude, Dallas Turner is going to be awesome for them. JJ McCarthy is going to be hopefully, down the line, really, really good for them. I mean, did you feel like too, Nick, that they were able to answer some other positional questions on day 3? Is these just more like dart throws for you? Do you have any kind of takes on what they did outside of the first round?
So the back half kind of bummed me for a couple of reasons. I feel like Taylor from Miami was graded pretty high as a defensive tackle, and he was sitting there. And I know most people don't think about wide receiver, but wide receiver 3 is, a big concern to me, not downing Powell, but letting Brendan Rice fall to the 7th round. Man, I wish Kwesi would have pulled the trigger in the 6th round for a wide receiver, and he could have gotten Taylor in the 7th. I know most of those are dart throws, but I know PFF, when you do your little mock sims, Taylor was ranked at top 50. So to see him in the 7th round, Brendan Rice I had a 4th round or a 3rd round grade on him. So I wanted Kwesi to pull the trigger, but I love the kicker, Will Reichard. He looks like McLovin. And he just looks like he accidentally showed up on a football field and was too afraid to say he didn't belong. And so he started making field goals, and nobody asked him to leave. So, but I mean, there's still time. There's still a lot of undrafted free agents. There's still the second wave of free agency. If we do Brian O'Neill restructure, there's definitely a way to bring some talent. The second half, I did have some questionable Kwesi calls, but at that point in the draft, I can see how it's just to throw it at the dartboard kind of thing.
Absolutely. Nick, appreciate you coming on, man. Awesome takes.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. Check out my music. Tell me more.
You got it, man. Appreciate you, Nick. Thank you, dude. All right, Vikings Vent Line roll on a little bit here on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button for daily Vikings entertainment. Let's go to our guy Bill next year from Southeast Wisconsin. He's in enemy territory, but he's got his Viking stuff. He's got his Timberwolves hat on. What's up, Bill? How you doing?
Doing well, Declan. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for coming on Vent Line. What did you think of the draft here? What did you like?
I love the draft. I have a couple quick questions. Well, first off, it's hard not to focus on quarterback because I think we got a quarterback for the future. He's a winner. All I've wanted after this Kirk Cousins era is somebody that's actually won something sometime. And he looks like he's going to win in the NFL as well. But Khyree Jackson is a really interesting pick to me. He didn't seem like a prototypical person when I hadn't heard of him before the draft. I looked at him. It's like he was a real tall, big, lanky cornerback. I'm wondering, Brian Flores always seems to surprise me with who he picks, because you think you've got the guys nailed down that he's going to pick, and he goes, I don't know what he thinks he's going to do with a big cornerback, because to me that seems like a big, lanky cornerback that won't be able to necessarily blitz well, would not fit into his thing, but he apparently sees something. I wonder if you know anything about him. I know you know Thor, and Thor knows everybody. Do you have any insight on that?
Well, I think I kind of look at him, and this is just what I was observing as minor research throughout the draft when it was taking place Saturday afternoon, was I feel like he might kind of be like a Josh Metellus type, where he's just kind of like a Swiss Army guy that can do multiple positions, play multiple spots on the defense, and however Flores wants to deploy him is probably a big reason. Because, yeah, to your point, 6'4". I don't know if he'll have the speed. I don't know if he'll have the reps that he has had to keep up with NFL wide receivers. And look, developing cornerbacks, I think, is probably the hardest thing in this league outside of developing at quarterback. So playing the position's very, very tough. So I think he might be, and this is again, first guess, is he's just like this awesome Swiss Army knife that Josh Metellus, I think, kind of was for Brian Flores this year.
Okay, questions. Thanks, Dex. I really appreciate it, and keep doing it. Doing the Twin Show. You're wonderful.
You're welcome. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate you coming on Vent Line, dude. Awesome stuff. Thank you, sir. Yeah, hit that subscribe on to the Twin Show, too, the Score North Twin Show. Now that the draft is over, we'll focus some of the attention on the Twins, also Flagrant Howls with the Timberwolves podcast with Mackie and Kyle Tigey. Great stuff there. We'll keep Vent Line rolling on. Elijah, what's up, man? How you doing? Welcome to Vent Line.
What's up, man? Thank you.
What's this shirt? What is this? Kirk Dirt?
Kirk Dirt, baby. Did it for the memes because,
I love it, man.
Kirk's a meme and so are the Falcons.
Yes,
so.
they are. Yes, they are. What'd you love about the draft, dude?
Everything. I thought this draft, I feel so much, I feel euphoric after this draft. I mean, this just feeling of getting our new quarterback, new toy for Brian Flores to play with. It's really hard not to like any of the defensive players that came out of this draft, just knowing they're going to get Brian Flores as their coach. Mm-hmm. And so that's really exciting. I think just to echo on like what everyone was saying on JJ, it's like, dude's an absolute baller. You hear like everything that people were saying, like Bill Belichick on what he was saying about JJ McCarthy, and there's just nothing but good things to say. He makes great decisions. I think he's going to absolutely flourish in this system with KOC as his head coach. And I'm just really excited for the future. How can you not be, man, with like a guy who wants to be here, who's passionate about the game of football, who will actually probably work on Tuesdays, which is just, like, let's go, right? But yeah, man, this draft is awesome. I'm curious to know, and I think a lot of the audience is curious to know your thoughts on the new kicker coming in. Like, What do you think? What do you see?
Yeah, dude, I'm excited for him. I mean, we talked about a little bit on the Saturday episode to start after the draft of just the guy's like a kicking prodigy. A lot of these like other kicking prospects are dudes that were like converted soccer players, or they were like these kind of gadget players that just kind of moved into the position, and it's hard to develop the team that position too and really cultivate that into the NFL. I feel like with what they were able to do here at the Alabama kid is perfect, because it's like it's a guy that's been kicking his entire life and kicking in the SEC and kicking for one of the most prestigious schools in the country in Alabama. Plus with Nick Saban, who like, God, imagine like that dude is a pain in the ass to work with, and if he trusts you and likes you to keep you around, like, yeah, man, I think that's really good. Look, I was tongue in cheeky with the Greg Joseph stuff. I get that. That was a fun bit. But it was time to move on, and I do think that they potentially have found maybe a really good kicker here that can hopefully solve, knock on wood, a lot of the Vikings' woes that they've always had at that position.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. I'm super excited for that, a new kicker to come in, with a new quarterback and a new edge rusher. It feels like this team has a new energy, a new aura to it, and new leaders on all sides of the ball. And it's going to be a really fun training camp. I'm going to replace this shirt with a JJ to JJ shirt that I got on the Purple Daily Shop. So
nice, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man, super excited to see this new team come to play, and that Falcons game is going to be fun this year, man.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be fun to watch.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a blast. Whether it's Penix or Kirk Cousins or Kurt Dirt, doesn't matter. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Yeah, man.
Elijah, thanks for coming on Ventline, dude. Appreciate you, man. Keep it up.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome. All right, Vikings Ventline rolling on here. A few more guests left. Let's go to Will next year. Hey, Will, what's up, dude?
How's it going?
Welcome to Ventline. How are you, dude?
I'm great after this draft. I mean, I loved the first round. Obviously, was definitely the most flashy. I loved the JJ pick. I also love Kwesi, seeing this fantastic top tier defensive end dropping, and he's just like, let's go get him. I think there's a video out online of O'Connell, like, of his reaction when they said that he was getting him, and he was like,
yeah, I know.
And so I think that's pretty spectacular. I think Kwesi's definitely learning from his first draft. Yeah, I'm loving this. A few just questions, like, I love me some Brandon Powell, don't get me wrong, but is he just going to be the wide receiver 3? Like, are we just giving that to him? That's what I'm like. Let's give him a little competition. I think that would have helped, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, they've done things before. Like, they brought in guys like, like D.D. Westbrook. They brought in a few years ago, and he was like mostly a punt returner too, but could have played some wide receiver 3. I do wonder if there's like a second wave free agent, that they do bring in maybe before training camp or like before OTAs, just because, yeah, to your point, like, I mean, JJ and Addison, I mean, Justin Jefferson's probably the best receiver in the league. Jordan Addison had a hell of a rookie year, but an injury or just in general, I mean, this team runs 11 personnel well, and like KJ Osborne was, a perfectly fine wide receiver 3, right? Like nothing more and nothing less. But I mean, you remove him from the equation, to your point, and now it's Brandon Powell. Like, Do you feel better about that? I don't think you feel better about Brandon Powell being wide receiver 3. So yeah, I think an addition probably is going to be needed on that position because I don't think you can roll with just Brandon Powell for that.
Yeah, I do think also Kwesi's looking in all the dimensions. I think he's also looking for 2025, like you guys have been talking about. So I think maybe next draft, maybe we plug some of those holes. I also think running back, obviously that's not like that's right now, that's not the most urgent issue, but is Aaron Jones going to stay with us for another year? Is Ty Chandler going to step up, or is he going to pull a Madison and kind of crumble under the pressure of being the only running back?
It's interesting. I thought a running back would for sure be on their radar or on their target list. So I think that probably tells me they like Ty Chandler a lot. Like Aaron Jones is obviously going to be the starting running back, and that's a fact. But I think they really like Ty Chandler, and they didn't really want to maybe overcrowd that room, or just didn't. It felt like maybe there was better picks to make instead of just taking a running back because it was a position of need. So yeah, I think I look at that as like they believe in Ty Chandler, and they obviously, I don't think they were like gonna bail on him, but to your point, like could they have used a little extra juice in that position group? Yeah, but I think it probably means they really like Ty Chandler.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
Yeah. Anything else that stood out to you from the draft, Will?
No, I love the kicker in the 6th round. That's it's definitely ballsy. I mean, but you guys were talking. I didn't realize he was a prodigy. Like, I'm excited to see what happens, and if we're gearing up for some big plays next, I guess the following season, we're going to need someone to make a extra point or a field goal in the playoffs to push us over. That's for sure.
Yeah, that'll just be PTSD until until that trophy is raised. As much as I think Reichard might be the prodigy here that this team's always needed, until it happens, we won't count those chickens before they hatch.
Exactly.
Will, great stuff, buddy. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you very much.
Man. You're welcome. Of course. All right, let's wrap things up here with Christoph. Christoph, you're down under, right? Are you in Australia?
No, not Australia, Austria.
Austria. Okay, there's my reading that comes in very handy. Austria, though, but still a global Vikings fan here. What's going on, man? What did you think of the draft?
I liked it. I really liked it, and I can feel Chad very much on the draft night when he was so nervous when it didn't trade up.
Yeah.
Because Big 3, I thought sell the farm, but obviously Tracy put the line and said, no, I'm not trading the farm. I'm patient. And it worked out perfectly. And already the whole offseason Tracy was cooking. I mean, the signings in free agency and now nailing the draft. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, what did you think? McCarthy and Dallas Turner are going to be probably studs here for a long time. What did you think about the other picks they were able to make?
Just like Will said, I'm surprised it didn't take a running back.
Yeah.
Because that will be a position needed in the future. Aaron Jones, I think, has got a 1-year contract, so he will likely be gone after his revenge games against the Packers. So
yeah.
Just like Darius Smith.
Absolutely. What do you think is a realistic timeline for JJ, Christoph? Do you think McCarthy ends up starting this year at some point? Does he sit behind Sam Darnold for the full year? What do you kind of think? How does that shake out for you?
I think he might start this year already, but I wouldn't be surprised if he just sits behind Darnold.
Yeah.
I think it very much depends on how Darnold performs and how McCarthy develops. I mean, I trust KOC totally that he will develop him and knows when the right time is to put him in.
Awesome, man.
Would be funny. McCarthy against Phoenix when they play.
Yes.
When they play Atlanta.
When they play the Falcons. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. How long have you been a Vikings fan, Christoph?
Oh, almost 40 years.
Okay.
I was an exchange student in Minneapolis in the 80s. And that's when it was the first time I heard about the Vikings. And then I really started about 5-6 years ago when I found finally some streaming service to watch the games.
Awesome.
And haven't missed many games since then. I almost every Sunday, even if the game's in the middle of the night, then because it's 7-hour time difference. So
yeah, that's a big one for you. Well, awesome, man. Great takes, great analysis here on the Vikings event line and on the draft picks. Enjoy yourself, and hopefully there's more nice games you can watch in your timeline and in your time frame next season. Okay.
Yes, I love the noon games. That's
best.
Noon
games
are
are
great.
great.
Have a London game, which will be in the afternoon.
Yeah,
in my time.
That'll help.
It depends when this will be. I might even try to see if I can go there.
Yeah, good call. You definitely should. That'd be a blast.
Because
man.
I know there are many Viking fans in Europe.
Yes, there are. There are a ton of them. They keep going back there, so it must be a good sign.
Yes.
It's awesome. All right, Christoph. Thank you, man. Appreciate you coming on Vikings Event Line.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Vikings Event Line. This is Purple Daily. We'll have future episodes, too, of Vikings Event Line, of course, on the Purple Daily YouTube channel and the podcast feed. So hit that subscribe button for daily Vikings entertainment. You can also expect Purple Daily on Draft on Monday. Judd is probably already scribbling away and working on his first mock schedule release, and that should be coming out on Tuesday. Plus, we have Write That Down, a predictions accountability section. We get to see how accurate or how inaccurate we were on all those draft predictions. So that'll be a blast to see how wrong or right we were. So hit that subscribe button. This is Purple Daily. My name's Declan Goff. Appreciate everyone listening and watching. We'll be back on Monday.